The following film celebrates Wales deaf and hard of hearing communities, sharing how they would celebrate St David's Day, their vibrant deaf culture, and the importance of language, identity and belonging. Thank you to everyone who took their time to share their stories. Created by Action Deafness Cymru in partnership with Cread and Formosa Films. It's funded by the Welsh Government and it's a St David's Day project.
St David's Day, daffodils, Welsh lady, Welsh cake, celebrate.
St David's Day is celebrated every year on the 1st of March, and it is a national day of St David, the patron saint of Wales. Who was St David? He was born circa 500 AD. He died the 1st of March, circa 589 AD. His Welsh name was Dewi Sant. He was a Welsh bishop, teacher and a Christian missionary. He founded monastic settlements and churches across Wales and parts of Britain. Associated particularly with St David's, where St David's Cathedral now stands. His final words are said to have been, "Be joyful, keep the faith, and do the little things."
Gwnewch y pethau bychan.
St David's Day is a celebration of Welsh identity, language and community. But Wales has more than just one language. It is now many voices, many stories and many ways of communicating. Deaf and hard of hearing people are an important part of the Welsh culture and heritage. Across Wales and the UK, British Sign Language, BSL, is a language with its own grammar, history and identity. For many deaf people, BSL is their first language. It connects generations, it carries stories and it builds community. From deaf clubs that have supported people for decades, to young deaf leaders shaping the future, deaf culture in Wales is strong, proud and resilient. Many deaf and hard of hearing children in Wales went to Llanrydnod Wells School for the Deaf. the education of deaf or hearing impaired children in Wales began as early as 1847, when the Cambrian Education Society took practical steps to gain public support in establishing an institution for the education of children with hearing and speech impediments. The new school, funded by donation or subscription, was initially located in Aberystwyth. In 1850, it moved to Picton Place, Swansea, and in 1857 to a new building at the Craig Field, Swansea. In 1898, the institution was formally styled as the Royal Cambrian Institution for the Deaf and Dumb. As a result of the intense bombardment of the city of Swansea during 1941, the school was forced to evacuate the Craigfield site and find alternative premises. It was in Newbridge on Wye and Rada. The need for education for deaf children continued to grow during this period, and by 1950, the school trustees, finding it difficult to meet increasing demand, transferred responsibility for the school to the Welsh Joint Education Committee. The school relocated to spacious premises in Llandrydnod, Wales, and opened on the 17th of October 1950 with 157 pupils. The governing body of the school consisted of one representative member of each local education authority in Wales, and the maintenance costs were shared by the participating local authorities. In 1973, the school closed following the changes in the provision of education for the deaf and hearing impaired children. My birthday is on St David's Day, March the 1st. I was born in 1945, so I am 80 years old now. I went to Llandrindod Welsh School, and they did not teach us or talk about St David's Day. I only saw flags with dragons, but we didn't understand. The Huron people of the town were all dressed up, but we didn't know what it meant. Only saw rows and rows of daffodils, and the children of the town were all carrying one daffodil each. But what it was for or represented, we didn't know. We weren't taught anything about St David's Day. But when I went home, I asked my mother, "Why are the yellow flowers? What are they?" "They are daffodils to represent St David's Day." So I looked at my sister. We both didn't know that before. So my mother explained what happens on St David's Day and that he was a heroic man. Now we know, but it wasn't from school. My mother, my father, my sister, the four of us are all profoundly deaf. My grandmother has 21 children, 4 were deaf. My sister was born deaf. I went deaf at the age of 2 because of meningitis. It wasn't a problem. I am very proud to be deaf. Why, what's the point is, I am deaf. I can cook, I can wash, I am a housewife, I look after the children, and I have no help. How? My mother taught me. The baby alarm for when the baby cries. I had a light that would flash to let me know. What did they use? In older times, they used string that would be tied on the wrist and on the cot. My mother's bed would be next to the cot, so when the baby moved, the string would tug my mother. Then she would know the baby needs food or is crying.
My father had a meeting with the other members of the Deaf Club to discuss their concerns about Newbridge-on-Wye Deaf School. My father was worried and didn't want me to continue there. And then they decided on Llandrindod Wells as it was opening. I moved there when I was 6. There were lovely big beaches, a swimming pool, 300 to 400 trees, looking around with my friends who were with me. We used to go to Newbridge together. We climbed, we took lots of photographs and swam. The school was really nice. I enjoyed growing up there. I was happy.
My school taught me sign language. I had to learn to drive. I didn't know how. I was 19. No, I was 20. Someone in the Deaf Club said I must learn to drive. So we went somewhere quiet. Lots of people in Wales travel far. Anyway, I was learning, then I passed first time. So now I could go travel different places. I was happy. I could travel to the deaf clubs. Before I was married, I drove to Llanelli and Swansea deaf clubs.
How did you meet your wife?
We met dancing in Porthcawl, Wales, Deaf Rally.
My father never seen us growing up because of the wartime. My father would ask my mother, "I want to see them grow up." But obviously I went to school, so he never got to see me growing up. So I asked my mother, how am I deaf? Was it German measles? And she said, "No, you were born deaf." Oh, that surprised me. My mother said, "We could see you were different to your other sisters because they would speak." My mother said, "She's deaf." My father was like, "No, she can't be deaf." My mother was like, "Yes, I think she is." So one night when I was sleeping, I was 11 months old, my father comes up with a tray. And he threw the tray down. I woke up, but it was because of the light. The next night, he turned the light off, and then my mother and father did the same thing. He dropped the tray. I never moved, and he was shocked, and he said, "Yes, you're right, she's deaf. We need to see the doctor," and I ended up in Welsh Deaf School. I used to play the raffle for years, and I used to collect it for over 20 years. I would always be doing the raffle. They nicknamed me the tax woman. I'd say, "Come on, tax is due." Peter Pow started this. He called me the tax woman. And it got out in the deaf community and everybody said, "The tax lady's coming, look out." I don't know why they called me the tax lady for.
I remember St David's Day. Years ago in school, I was in mainstream school. I know St David's Day, the costume, the girls' costume, we'd have a white shirt, we'd have an apron, and we'd have a wool skirt. I didn't like it. Why? It used to be so itchy. It was thick wool, and it made me itch. I didn't like it. But my mother would make me wear it. And when I went home from school, I would quickly take it off. St David's Day was a good Welsh celebration, but dressing up, I didn't like it. I am Welsh. Girls would stay in the one building in the other school. We had two buildings, one where the boys slept and one where the girls. But for food, we would all join in one part of the school, and then the girls would go back to their building. The boys would sleep in their dorms. Yes, the photographs. Yes, they used to be very long. And when the school got demolished, they changed it to a county hall. I have visited it there. Have you been there? Llandrydnod Wells? Yes, they changed it.
Yes.
Before it was a school, the building used to be a hospital. But then it was a hotel, and then they gave it as a deaf school. There were lots of deaf people who used to go there. It was much better. So when school was finished, we go home for half term, same as the hearing schools. Some people would stay in school. Some would either be staying at their friends or would go home. Did you go home?
I would go home. I only went home 3 times.
Oh, I was happy to go home. I loved it. Going home on a Friday, and then Monday I'd come back.
I was only allowed to go home 3 times, not for the half term. No, I had to stay. The only 3 times I could do was Christmas for 2 weeks, Easter for 2 weeks, and then for the 6 weeks holiday. That was it, 3 times. I never went home for half term.
I remember watching on TV, See Here. It was so fast. They're signing too fast. Really, really fast. I never understood. So I used to read the subtitles. Found the sign-in was so fast, I couldn't keep up.
That's in Newport Docks. That's where I used to work. Sometimes I would work in Cardiff Bay, where the Parliament building is now. We used to work there on ships doing repairs. Now it's closed. Now it's a new building, it's all changed. Now you go to Cardiff Bay and you see the Senedd. Before we would work on the ships, on 4 or 5 ships there. Now they're all closed and all gone. I worked there many times. Now you can see them in the Cardiff Museum. It was before me. It was difficult for me because of health and safety. My manager would be saying, "Ignore them, you're doing a good job." See this photo of the ships? I worked on yachts. I would work on lots of places. My job was a fitter and turner. I worked on everything. A machine fitter. I did all sorts. I would be climbing up. I was used to it. I did it for so many years, no problem. I had never hurt myself, but people used to keep on about health and safety. My boss used to keep telling me, just ignore them. Now all my family are gone. They all died. I live alone and I'm 87.
It's St. David's Day. What does this mean? It's March. We celebrate, we look at Welsh history, and also we look at the Welsh culture. Our celebrations are on the 1st of March. We celebrate in many ways. Children in school dress up in more traditional Welsh lady costumes. I remember years ago dressing up. It was awful and the costume was old. And the hat, I remember feeling embarrassed. The boys was different. They could dress in Welsh rugby tops. That was better. Celebrations also had food. Eating traditional food. For example, cawl, similar to a soup. Also we have cake, bara brith. Delicious. I am proud to be deaf. And I am proud to be Welsh. I want younger generations of deaf children to be involved. I'm thinking, how? Maybe sports? For me, I was involved with Wales Deaf Rugby. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to be involved. Possibly meeting new deaf friends. Or learning about Welsh deaf history. And gain confidence to keep their deaf identity. I hope in the future the celebrations continue.
I was born deaf. I had German measles. Now I'm 67. I'm an old fart. Anyway, I am proud of Bridget Deaf Club. I've been here for a long time. The first was in Cardiff. I moved because my mother had ill health and we moved to a flat in Pencoed. Everything is fine now. The club is my heart, my passion. You see, Edinburgh versus Bridgend. From 1957 till now. But it's dwindling now. Some have died, it's sad. But good memories in the past. We like drinking, women, you name it. I enjoyed myself through my marriage. I married twice. I have a wonderful life now. I feel the deaf community is strong. Yes. This club keeps going. Friends, members, not a member, everybody is welcome. See these photographs of me? That was my own. I did not hire it. My own Welsh called Pride of Wales. I wore that many times, but now it's going worn out. I think I might buy another one. I'll have to wait and see. This cost me £800 back in 1997. a long time ago. I enjoyed the suit. Why? You think Scotland was the first one? No, Wales was the first one to make kilts. Before Scotland. Yes, it's true. If you want to know, have a look at the history books of the Welshman that moved to Scotland with a kilt, and then Ireland took it too. They built and opened this new deaf club on June the 13th, 1991. They invited Princess Diana. She wore a pink suit, she looked beautiful. I got to meet her 3 times in one day. I'm wondering how? I worked in Stoney, the morning shift, 6 till 2. My manager said to me, go and sit in the front, you can lip read. Sit in the front. Okay, I'll go and sit in the front. Luckily, the Princess Diana comes walking and says, hello. Oh, wow, I was the first. I loved it. At a presentation then, I won because I saved 350,000 on machines and was awarded. I had a certificate and I shook her hand. So that was the second time. And then somehow, about 1 p.m, I asked my boss if I could leave to go to the deaf club. He said, yeah. So I left early. So I picked up my wife and my son, ready to go to the deaf club. Princess Diana comes around, shaking everybody's hand. In the last room, it was the snooker room before. I was playing snooker. Princess Diana came up and went, I saw you this morning. I've shook your hand twice. Cheekily, I asked, can I have a third one? And we shook hands, but I didn't wash it for 1 week. She was a wonderful woman. I really enjoyed that day. Now it will be 35 years in June 2026. We couldn't celebrate 30 years because of the COVID and lockdown. We were disappointed, but we can celebrate 35 years. I hope we invite somebody, but who? I miss Princess Diana. It's sad.
It was the wartime, and because of the bombing, we had to move. From Swansea to Newbridge-on-Wye, near Bilth Wells. And the older boys went to Rhader. And the very young boys came with us. I stayed until I was 16. And as the older boys grew up, they moved to Rhader Deaf School. I carried on until I was 16. At 10, they taught me to read and write. At the age of 16, I left school. I wanted to be an artist. My dad said, no, it's hard to get a job. So I thought, I could see in the mirror to lip read. So I decided to become a hairdresser.
When my daughter was little, she went to a school in Neath, PHU unit. Her brother went to the same. I went to Llandrindod Wells myself from the age of 4 to 12. We didn't talk about or see anything about St. David's Day. No celebrations, but when I was 12 and I moved to a PHU unit, because my old school didn't teach anything, I could pick things up quickly. So my parents decided for me to move. They spoke to the head teacher, Mr. Richards. They argued, but my parents said no, I had to move. Mr. Richards said I was good at BSL and should not give up. But I had to go. When I arrived in Pontypridd, the school was in Hopkinstown. I arrived in the school and the teacher told me I had to put my hands behind my back. I had no signing for 4 years. But I do remember at that school, my mother dressed me in a shawl and a Welsh hat, but I didn't realise what it was for. When I left school and started going to deaf clubs, I forgot how to sign, so some of the older members helped me. I remembered how to sign the alphabet. I improved now to where I am now. But my own family are all deaf. I preferred the deaf school. My daughter wore a Welsh costume in PHU unit.
My brother is deaf, but my mother wouldn't let him go to deaf school because I would switch off my voice when I signed. He went to a Catholic school. Now he wears hearing aids and cochlear implants. He's happy and he lives in Australia. Welsh cakes, do you remember making them?
Yes. I remember here in Bridgend we had a stall.
Yes.
I remember wearing the Welsh costume. I remember when this club opened. My daughter wore a Welsh lady costume and gave flowers to Princess Diana.
Yes.
Sport was very important. Cricket I liked in school. Football too, but cricket in the summer. Yeah, he'd go cross-eyed and miss the ball. Don't believe him. I started school in 1950 and then I left school in 1959. Yes, we were all in the same school, Llandrydnod. We learned the sports in school and some went on to play for Wales. We played for the deaf Wales football team. Me, Don, Roy. Well, he played cricket. He was a baby playing with a bat. We never played rugby in school. Never. We didn't know about St. David's Day. What it was about? Nothing. Nobody gave us any information. It was only until leaving school, going to the deaf clubs, where people would say about St. David's Day celebrations, like in Llanelli Deaf Club, where I am from. I moved to Bridgend later. In Llanelli, they always had a small party to celebrate St. David's Day. I remember that. Yes, I remember the Welsh ladies' hats. Some deaf people would dress up too. We have celebrated here for St. David's Day. Remember the ladies wearing hats? Your wife was one of them dressed up. But the meaning behind St. David's Day, we don't know. When I left school, I went to Deaf Club and all the members said to come to the BDA Congress in Brighton. So we went there and stayed for a week. We met the Scottish deaf there too. We chatted and the Scottish love the Welsh. Yes, yes. I asked where he was from. Edinburgh. He had a face full of freckles and ginger hair. He was a lovely man. We spoke and asked if Scotland would like to play against Wales. Meaning Bridgend and Edinburgh would play. We would go there and they would come down to play here. Yes, they agreed. So all of us from Bridgend would travel up, now by the train, so all of us from Bridgend would travel up. It started from there. So we continued. Deaf Welsh sports then was a good time. League matches, Llanelli, Swansea, Bridgend, Cardiff, Pontypridd, Llanelli, we'd all play, Newport as well. We would go to each place, there and there. We would all play away, it was nice. But celebrating St. David's Day? Rare. Very rare. Here we celebrate it, but very rare. So you played football for Wales? Yes, I did. 4 times. Scotland we played, and we played England. Yeah, they always lost. Yes, we did lose, but our team are rubbish. It was hard work for me to be trying to encourage them. Come on, they was all hearing. Trev Thomas, I played there. I was the only one that was deaf. All the others were hearing. I played well. I remember running in school for sports, running around. I was so short, everyone nicknamed me Dwarf. In Newbridge School, we had no sports for 2 years. We could only play with a wire wheel and a stick. Yes, I remember. I love rugby, but my father likes football. Rubbish. Footballers now, they fall over and, oh, I hurt myself. Waste of time. Better years ago, much better years ago. They're now rubbish. Same as you. I used to play rugby for Machen. I was a winger, right winger. I left rugby when I got married, and then we moved away to Trev Thomas, and I joined football.
We're talking about St. David's Day. My memories are of my father making Welsh cakes. Really beautiful food. Oof. My mum would make a leek for me to wear. I remember that, of course, but I didn't know what it was for.
I'm here to talk about deaf community, the history. My family are deaf. My parents were deaf and myself deaf. Interestingly, my brother was hearing. Well, growing up, my father was a very strong finger speller. I would be watching and learning, teaching me the finger spelling, but now it's changing to BSL. Better, faster, of course. I am proud to be Welsh and deaf. A strong and passionate Welsh deaf community. I was involved in the deaf Welsh football, first as a player and then as a Welsh team manager. They appointed me. As I got older, I got interested in golf. I went to the World's Deaf Golf Competition in Australia. I went to represent Wales. Now what I play is, so funny, I play bowls, deaf bowls for Wales. I'm also a team manager. I think 1, 2, 3, maybe this was the 4th, I can't remember. Anyway, I've done lots. I'd like to share a story from where I am in Swansea, in the old deaf club in Uplands, in a church, I can't remember the name. My father told me a beautiful story. If my father never shared it with me, I couldn't tell you today. My father always told me it's important to pass on the stories. So when I was about 22, 23, I took my father to the deaf club. The building was old, so my dad was doing some repairing, plastering, painting. I was downstairs playing snooker. Somehow, Carl he asked me if I wanted tea. I said, no, it's okay, I can make his tea. No, I'll make a tea. My father was upstairs. There were bay windows, same as downstairs. My father was upstairs plastering. Put the plaster down. My father stops and sees an old paint bucket with a rope, ties it on, and my father puts the bucket down the gap in the window. Carl was standing making tea, and then all of a sudden, as the time was winter and it was so dark, my father was swinging the bucket. Carl saw this and ran upstairs quickly. My father stops and went back plastering. Carl says, I saw a head swinging outside. My father said, no, relax. So Carl says, he goes back down. So my father does it again. Puts it down, starts swinging. Carl sees it again, runs upstairs in a panic. My father quickly goes back to the plastering. What's the matter? Wait, relax, you're worrying too much. So Carl says, all right. But somehow my dad managed a third time. So Carl quickly runs back down, makes his cup of tea, and then he sees it happen again. Quickly runs back upstairs. My father still swinging the bucket. And Carl saw it and said it wasn't real. And he went on, he said, you're sly. My father loved to play practical jokes. I was the first to go to an English school. Don't know why. I should have gone to one in Wales, as they have a deaf school in Llandrindod, Wales. Why did I have to go so far away? I went to Derby. It was more for the hard of hearing, not deaf really. It was a good school. I was there 10 years and then left school. I never managed to go to the deaf clubs often as I was away in school. But when I started often, I became secretary for Swansea Deaf Club at the age of 17, up until around 25, 26. I thought it was best to step down to let other young members have a chance. But now they've appointed me president. That's a good memory. I'm also still part of Deaf Wales Sports Council. And I have been on the board for over 50 years. Over 50 years. I started at 17. So I worked it out and now I'm 70.
Hello, how are you? Happy St. David's Day.
I am deaf. I went to Llandrindod Welsh School.
I was in school from 4.5 in Westgate Street. It's actually where the Welsh rugby shop is now. That was my old school. There was 15 deaf, so a very small school. And then when I reached the age of 9, I was supposed to go to Chepstow. They were building a new deaf school. Sadly, this didn't happen because it caught on fire, so I was disappointed. They found another school, which was Llandrindod Wells. I think it used to be a hospital or a hotel before. I moved to Llandrindod Wells in 1950. I was happy there, but also a bit frightened. I missed my mum, my dad, and my family. I left school in 1957. We campaigned to fight to stay in our deaf club, but it failed. The new deaf club is now in a new place we're happy now. So at the start of the club, 1975, not quite sure, I can't remember. Lots of people would come, lots of old members too. But now the numbers are dwindling. I don't know what's happened. It's disappointing. I hope it carries on and welcomes new members. At the Deaf Club in Cardiff, years ago, we always organised a trip. We'd always travel by coach and go to different places. Always had good time.
I remember years ago when I was small, I had some family who lived in Wales. My parents would come over to Wales to visit my aunt and uncle. My aunt was a Welsh lady, but my uncle wasn't. But he married and then he moved to Wales. I came every year, every holiday to Wales. I was so excited. Why? As my most favourite thing is Welsh cakes. When I'd arrive, I'd say to my aunt, Welsh cakes? And she'd say, okay. I asked her to teach me how to make them. And then she'd wait for me to arrive and then we'd start in the kitchen. And we'd get the bowl and flour and all sorts and we'd make them. I used to be really excited and interested to watch. I remember that old iron bake stone being really hot and my aunt would say, no, don't touch, it's very hot. And I would watch her scoop the mix onto the bake stone. It was so exciting to watch as they rise. I would flip them over and be like, ooh, that was so exciting. They were fresh and I loved them. They were so good memories, the Welsh cakes. And my family.
I went to mainstream school until I was about 11 and a half. I'd been brought up oral, no signing at all. I went to a deaf school, then I met her in Ashgrove School, and I had to teach her to sign. They used to tell us about St David's Day. We did competitions, we used to draw things, and we had prizes, first, second or third. Really interesting. I remember, going to Cardiff Deaf Club regularly with school every Wednesday.
We went together.
And we met older members that would tell us about the old times. Interestingly, they were saying they weren't taught Welsh. I didn't realise they were different as I learned Welsh. Really interested to learn their signs, like how they say, about Caerphilly Castle and Cardiff Castle and visiting and why the dragon's there and drawing. It was all there. They had plenty of information, really good. Being taught to be oral was easier to communicate with a hearing, especially when you're meeting hearing people. It's hard to concentrate on lip reading and it would make you lose self-confidence with communicating. Do you remember learning that Welsh rugby song?
Oh, yes, I remember.
Do you remember learning It Was Hard?
Yes.
In Welsh?
In Welsh. It took a long time. A long time.
They were teaching us to sing. It was hard. Taught us for 2-3 weeks. Welsh. That's the new sign I learned when I went to Harlech. I met lots of deaf people there. We stayed for a week. One man there, he would talk about Wales. This new sign. 3 for the feathers. Then another person said, there's a new sign, I love you. He was a fit man. He was big. He used to get up early every morning to go swimming. He died now, but he was nice looking. I like the mountains, walking around, lovely, going around. Yes, where I lived, lovely. I always used to walk up to the top and see the views. I loved walking through, and we go up and then through to the pig farm. Oh, I loved going there. It was a lovely smell. So I walked out to the park. I'd go down and walk, but, you know, I had nothing on me and I wanted water. So if we wanted water, we'd see a tree, we'd take off the bark, the green bark, and then we'd find a tap and hold it under to get water, and then we drink. Save money.
Well, usually in primary school we used to have an Eisteddfod where we sang and recited and things like that. We always had a daffodil on our clothes, a daffodil, fresh one usually, which died before the end of the day. We used to have Welsh cakes, pancakes, another Welsh thing we used to have. It always used to be singing in Welsh.
Hi, you know I'm doing the St David's Day project to celebrate St David's Day. I've done research in history for deaf people, and I found some famous ones. One lady called Eliza Pugh. She was born in 1831 in North Wales. She was born into a hearing family. She was the only one that was deaf, or at that time, deaf and dumb. Eliza at the time had no education, nothing. When she was born, there was no schools. Her brother was very clever. They were surgeons. When she was 12, she created of everyday words. She drew pictures to represent what they were, and she had the Welsh and the English. Very clever of her. The collection of words she would use daily, she was the first to use this, like a Welsh dictionary. And she was only 12. Very young. Everyone at the time knew her as a pretty girl. There was no communication with her. The education system didn't really start till 1890s. 40 years after Eliza was born. And she died at the age of 21 of a lung problem at the time. And on her gravestone, it does actually say, a pretty girl, because she was known as that. They all called her the pretty girl. Another famous lady is Isabel, Izzy for short. And she was born in 1970. Her family were Welsh speaking. She was born with cystic fibrosis. And due to medication, she lost her hearing at 3. She learned how to speak Welsh and British Sign Language. She was a very clever, well-educated lady. She went to school, college, university. She loved art, working with textiles. And she created the first A to Z Welsh fingerspelling alphabet. This was given to the deaf schools in North Wales and is still in use today. She was the first person. She also was an activist for deaf rights. She used her art to create posters for the BDA. She had a hearing dog to help her, whom she loved. The dog's name was Hero. When Izzy passed, they buried both Hero and her together. Her art is still seen today. She influenced many, but sadly she passed at 30-year-old. Her health declined, sadly. I think she would be campaigning today still if she was still alive. Can you see her art and information online? Yes, look on Google search for Welsh Deaf Archives. I found it interesting that the education for deaf children from Welsh-speaking families were not allowed to speak Welsh. Why? The government at the time, 1847, created what was known as the Blue Paper, because the cover was blue. They're saying in Wales, deaf children were not taught in Welsh at all. It was also known as the Welsh Not Rule. Similar to a long time ago, people were not allowed to speak Welsh with their families or outside, and they had to wear a wooden sign. Then in 1967, the Welsh Language Act was created. Activists campaigned, meaning Welsh must be taught. We are proud to use Welsh. It's our language here. Similar to BSL, have you heard? Hopefully this will be passed. March the 11th, important date for the fourth and final stage of the BSL bill. That will be great for the deaf communities. Fingers crossed.
St. David, why? Because the statues, you've got the bird, which is the Holy Spirit, sitting on the shoulder, and also David. I don't know why we call him David. Again, it's because of the influence from England, but his name was Dewi. If you called him, oi, David, who's that? Dewi.
I would like to say a big thank you for all the ones that have supported us through this St. David's Day project. It's been exciting to watch the final film, to see everything, your stories. Again, I'd like to say a big thank you to those who supported us, researched for us, and all the deaf communities and clubs. Bridgend, Pontypridd, Newport Deaf Church, Swansea, Young at Heart. Thank you.